At least 15 people have died in an attack on 3 communities in Adamawa State by suspected herdsmen. The victims say their village came under heavy attack at about 10 p.m. when many of them were already in bed. They explained that at the end of the shooting, 4 people were killed. In Taraba State, 5 persons have died after an attack on an ethnic Junkun town in southern part of the state by suspected thief militia. The 2 communities have been at war in the last 3 weeks, resulting in the loss of lives and property. A security expert, Chidinwano, now joins us to discuss the rising spate of insecurity in Nigeria. Now, several attacks happening in different communities in the country. What are we not doing right despite efforts to curb this?
Hello, good evening, and thanks for having me on. Well, the first thing is that we're not looking at this situation holistically. So we're not looking at it from a perspective of the causes, the effects, and what are the second and third order effects of the violence. So at the basis of everything that's happening is a breakdown in law and order. So you're seeing people taking the law into their own hands, feeling that they've been slighted, and then taking revenge for these acts. And this is essentially because people no longer have faith in the courts or in the police. So the first and most important thing that needs to be done is a reform of the police in such a way that they're able to not just react to crime, which they're not doing, but also prevent crime, and also ensure that people have the confidence that if they do, have to get an issue resolved, they can go to the police and they'll get justice through the courts or through the police.
All right, now with all of this happening, how should the federal government and security agencies handle this issue?
Well, the issues in Taraba and in Adamawa State, the Adamawa State is slightly complicated because it's also got, the tail end of Boko Haram, but it's all as well as, the herdsman issue, bandits and kidnapping. And a lot of it is filtering over the border from Adamawa region in Cameroon. The same with Taraba State, is also getting infiltration from the Anglophone crisis in Cameroon. So this is not just a local domestic issue, it's also an international or border issue. So for the federal government to address it, as I said, they need to face the internal issues of beefing up the police in that area, ensuring that the law courts, are reactive to these problems, and also strengthening the border, ensuring that there's sufficient border protection to prevent infiltration of weapons and personnel from neighboring countries.
But will this actually have a lasting effect on this issue? Will it help curb these issues? Because we've said this over and over again, and the federal government has put different measures in place. Now you're saying strengthening the borders, among other things, should be done. Now, how will this solve the problem finally?
It's very difficult to say it would solve the problem because you've also got the issue of people feeling that they've been wrong. So if, for example, your village has been burnt and you know that the perpetrators are either in the next village or across the border, and there's no way of resolving it, you're going to want to try and take revenge in one way or another. Even if you don't do it now, it may be 5 years, 10 years down the line. So in addition to closing or strengthening the borders, strengthening the police, strengthening the military and the law courts, you also need to have a form of a truth and reconciliation kind of commission, like was done in South Africa or what was done in Rwanda, in which all these parties, the perpetrators, the victims, all come together. Everybody gives an account, and either there's some traditional remedy, either people pay fines or people do acts of forgiveness, so that you can draw a line under it and everyone comes to the agreement that whatever happens from now on is going to be dealt with, as I said, by the law courts in an authoritative way, rather than this kind of cycle of revenge and cycle of violence.
So what should the state government do? This happened in Adamawa State, it happened in Taraba State as well, and other states. What should the state government in those states, how should they handle this situation?
The state governments have the problem in that they do not control security forces, they do not control the police, they do not control the army. But what they do control is the state law courts. So if they are proactive and begin, as I said, prosecuting people through the state courts, trying to get people who have been arrested and who have been tried. We hear of people being arrested, but we never hear what happens to them after that, whether they're tried, whether they're acquitted, whether they're just set free. So if people are being processed through the courts, then it gives confidence to those who are left behind that there is something going on. And at the same time, as I said, it can be on the states, incumbent on the states to start this reconciliation process. And for those things that are just land disputes and things like that, you can start other processes like land registration, having an efficient land registry where you can look at these things. Somebody knows that this land is, you're not just claiming it because your grandfather told you it's your land. It's written down and it's codified in law. So there's lots of administrative things that states can do, even though they can't control the security forces.
Security analyst Chidinwano, thank you very much for talking to us.